meaning to me since attending my first ceremony in 1975. I remember marching with my classmates from the elementary school up the McCartney Street Hill, through the junior high wing and into the gymnasium for the big event. Like today, the room was packed, jam-packed, standing room only. And our class worked its way into the gym, up the bleachers, and into the crowd, together with hundreds of much bigger, taller, intimidating classmen. It was intimidating to say the least. You could sense the seriousness of the occasion. As has been the tradition since the beginning, the band played the Star-Spangled Banner, and then the Impossible Dream. When the band stopped, the crowd became so still you could hear a pin drop. We listened intently as Mr. Knight stepped to the podium and presented a moving account of Bob Boyd's brief but celebrated life, his heroic death, and the outpouring of love, respect, and sympathy from family and friends. Mr. Knight went on to declare the name of the recipient, Michael Frank Harrison, and the crowd exploded. Chills shot through my body like a bolt of lightning. I will never forget that moment and all others that followed. None, however, produced the rush that I felt back in 1980 when Becky Pride presented the award to me. I was surprised and unsuspecting, but mostly I was humbled and deeply honored. So who was this person we honor here today, and who among you will be honored in his name? Please listen carefully as I take a few minutes to try and build for you an image of Robert W. Boyd. Bob Boyd spent his school years here in Yarmouth. He grew up on East Elm Street. When this high school opened in 1961, Bob came here as a member of the first senior class. He was president of the student council, member of the National Honor Society, captain of the soccer and basketball teams. He was a person who was liked and admired by teachers and fellow students alike. Upon graduating from Yarmouth High School, he went on to Bowdoin College, and again he was known as a good college citizen, a student leader, and an athlete. He was vice president of the student council, member of a social fraternity, and winner of the Horace Lord Piper Prize for a paper he wrote on achieving world peace. Bob was a distinguished military student in the ROTC program. He graduated in 1966 and went on to active duty in the armed forces while serving as a first lieutenant in Vietnam. While leading his men into action in October of 1967, 1 year after graduating from college, Bob was killed. He was 24. He was the first Yarmouth boy to give his life for this country in Vietnam. Let me share with you the last few moments of our hero's life. While moving through the dense jungle, his element detected a small Viet Cong unit and immediately pursued the insurgents. The enemy took refuge in a trench and brought heavy fire on his men, pinning them down. Ignoring his own safety, Lieutenant Boyd moved through the savage fire to inspire his men and deploy them for an assault on the entrenched Viet Cong. Heedless of the accurate hostile fire, he stood up and led a fierce charge on the determined enemy soldiers. He fired intense bursts from his rifle as he ran toward the Viet Cong and rallied his men to attack furiously by his aggressive actions. He was mortally wounded while fearlessly leading his men in the face of grave danger. His courageous efforts inspired his men to overwhelm the enemy and inflict heavy casualties upon them. First Lieutenant Boyd's gallantry in action at the cost of his life was in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflects great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. As someone once said, heroism is the brilliant triumph of the soul and the spirit over the flesh, that is to say, over fear. It is the dazzling and glorious concentration of courage. Bob Boyd embodied heroism and was awarded the Silver Star after he died for gallantry in action. As longtime educator Becky Pride stated in a prior presentation of this award, we do not honor Bob Boyd simply because of the way he died, though he did die courageously and was awarded one of our nation's highest honors. We honor Bob because of the way that he lived. The code by which he lived is very much alive. The nature and the spirit of such a human being can never die. During his all too brief life, said former Boyd Award trustee Herb Seymour, this young man made a mark on the people in his world, on the teachers, on the coaches, on the people who ran the stores, his neighbors, the people for whom he mowed lawns, his fraternity brothers, the military officers who trained him, his men in the army, and especially his family, on everyone with whom he had contact. What was it about Bob Boyd that endeared him to so many? It was not because of some superhuman strength, speed, size, or genius, although he was in good physical shape and obviously intelligent. It was not because he was a politician, although he was pleasant, cheerful, and thoughtful. Bob Boyd made an impression on the people of this world because he developed and he progressed to the highest level of his personal capabilities and inherent ability, because he believed that his own individuality and effort were responsible for his destiny, because he was honest, straightforward, and a person of principle. According to Frank Knight, he seemed to have a sense of what might be done to improve most any difficult situation, and in a confident, unassuming manner would lead the way to that improvement. Well, those who knew Bob here in town and everywhere helped to establish a memorial trust for the purpose of reminding you of the principles that guided his life. This trust provides that each year an award committee will consider the members of your senior class to determine if, in our judgment, one of you has developed and progressed to your maximum potential, as did Bob Boyd. Bob once wrote that a person must set his ideals high. To be sure, he will fall short, but one can approach only what is distant. There is less to be gained by aiming low. The committee considers in candidates several dimensions, including scholarship, sportsmanship, leadership, character, citizenship, and the basic golden rule. In the judgment of the committee, there are many of you who were given serious consideration, and this is a great tribute to your very talented class. It was only after careful review that a final decision was reached. This year's recipient has been described as the quintessential gentleman and scholar, highly respected by both peers and faculty alike. A three-sport athlete and captain, personable, mature, respectful, with a strong sense of right and wrong. A persistently hard worker who takes pride in his academic achievements. A compassionate person who impacts others around him in positive ways, always putting others' needs ahead of his own. Someone whose actions truly speak louder than his words. This year's recipient is a leader on and off the field, a good citizen and a person of high moral character, a high-performing individual who elects high challenges and rises to those challenges, one who strives for excellence at the highest level of his ability and will continue to live by these ideals following graduation from this great Yarmouth High School. On behalf of the town of Yarmouth and the awards committee, it gives me great pleasure to present the Robert W. Boyd Memorial Award for the year 2012 to Sam Torres.